Hey, what's going on, guys? So the brand new raid boss just came out in Borderlands 4, and I want to talk about that today and give my thoughts on it. So if you don't know, the first raid boss was dropped for everybody for free, and alongside that we also got a bunch of new gear. Let's first go over the flow of the boss fight. So go to any faction town, you're going to find a mission there for Bloomreaper.
Ooh, wanna fight a raid boss?
What's a raid boss?
A raid boss. R-A-I-D. Really, actually impossible to defeat.
And boss means...
I'm calling everyone boss now. Just trying it out. It's okay if you don't like it. Anyway, I've heard tell of a creature known as Bloomreaper the Invincible. You might want to take it down. You probably won't, though. Not on the first try, at least. Good luck, boss!
Pick up the mission, and then you're going to head to Carcadia Burns and to a new map. You then run through a winding canyon / ravine and do a little bit of grappling around. And along the way, you're going to find creep enemies just chilling out. You can kill them if you want to. You don't have to. They're not required. Then you get to the end. There's dead bodies everywhere. You get a cool cutscene. And a raid boss, Bloomreaper, is this little innocent flower. Sure, let's fall for that. You slide into the arena, make it to the main platform, and the boss fight begins. In the background footage, this is my first attempt at the raid boss. Luckily, I barely pulled it off, because I didn't know the mechanics yet. But Bloomreaper is pretty challenging. I think it's not, the easiest raid boss we've ever had, which is, kind of a good thing. During the start, the raid boss will, send out pulses of red. And if you do get hit by these, you will get knocked back pretty hard. So around the raid boss, you're going to have about 6 or 7 of these purple crystals you have to crack open. It is the same bio behavior we have in base games, so you're going to have a little particle fly out and you have to shoot it and break it. And once you break them all, the raid boss will finally pop out of the ground. Also at the same time, trash mobs are going to be attacking you, just like mini creeps. So either take them out or you can ignore them, but they are there if you need a second one too. You might notice that Bloomreaper finally comes out of the ground and is immune. We'll talk about the immunity stuff later, but he's undamageable for a little bit as he knocks you off the main platform. And now the main platform is covered in spikes and inaccessible. So you have to jump off and, use any other platform down below. And then Bloomreaper becomes damageable when he jumps down with you. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you might notice on the left side we have a timer. Basically, the faster you finish, the better and more loot you get. Anyways, from here, Bloomreaper is shooting a purple laser, and this has a lot of knockback. Luckily, it does move pretty slow. After you get Bloomreaper to about 2/3 HP, he goes immune again. And this is where he summons in a sandstorm, making it really hard to see anything around you. From here, Bloomreaper is damageable again, and this is where you can take out the boss. And that is the boss fight. Now, Bloomreaper does drop a lot of loot, so you can loot that up if you want to, but after you exit the arena, you are presented with your reward. Depending on how fast you beat the boss fight, you get these red chests. And from what I've heard, if you get at least silver on your time, you can roll the brand new legendary class mods. If you finish with a platinum time, the fastest speed, you get the brand new legendary sniper guaranteed. And that is the raid boss. Now, what are my thoughts on the raid boss? Personally, I think that Bloomreaper is a pretty solid boss. I like it. Now, it's not perfect, and there are some complaints, but for the most part, he makes you go through all the mechanics. You have to use the movement in the game to dodge, and he's not like every other boss in the game where you just one-shot them, skip all the mechanics, rinse and repeat. Now, during my stream, I did see some, frustrations in the chat for people saying, man, that knockback is really bad. This boss is so cheap. This is a bad boss. So, while I do understand the frustrations with the boss, my take is completely different, and keep in mind, this is my opinion. But for the first time in Borderlands 4, I feel like I have to use the actual game mechanics. Like I said, every other boss in the game, we one-shot, we skip all the mechanics, we hardly double jump during a boss fight, glide, dash, get out the way, But Bloomreaper makes you try pretty hard to get your win. To avoid the knockback, I just stay off the platform, hover around, and if I get hit, I heal up. And the boss fight is manageable and not too bad once you know the mechanics. Alright, let's go into some of the bad stuff. So, right away, I said at the beginning, immune phase, we'll come back to that. So, the immune phases, surprise, surprise, they come back again. And they are way too long. For the start of the fight, when he goes immune for the first time, that first immune phase lasts 20 seconds. There's no speeding it up. He has to pop out the ground and then, you know, thorn the platform and then jump away. And then the boss fight resumes. But wait, there's more. There's a second immune phase. This one's even longer, and it's 23 seconds. He has to goop the ground and summon a sandstorm, and then he becomes damageable again. So in total, first phase, 20 seconds, second phase, 23 seconds, 43 seconds of immunity phase. Yikes, that's not good. I do understand they want the boss to, like, you know, get into a different phase, but why does it have to take that long? Personally, I think that they know that the math in the game is whack, and they know the community is going to find a way to one-shot their boss. So to combat that, their only choices are give the raid boss a stupid amount of HP to stop one-shotting, or slap on immune phases and stop the one-shots. There is no doubt in my mind that they've seen people one-shot the raid bosses over the years in all of the games in the franchise, and they're probably tired of it. They just, like, you know, make this tough boss and people trivialize it. I mean, it's a tough one. The choices are you either go through all of the gear in the game and nerf things to make it so you can't one-shot things, which would further hurt the reputation of the game, or immune phases. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked, so let's go back to the immune phase talk. For example, Wotan in Borderlands 3 only did his immune phase for like, what, 2 seconds? And then he splits off into 2 halves and you know, take out both halves. But 43 seconds is absurd. It's not fun, and the player's just standing around waiting to do damage again. You gotta keep in mind, it only takes me less than 2 seconds to jump off the platform and be ready for the next phase. So I'm just chilling for 18 seconds waiting for the fight to resume. Now, I could kill the random enemies around, but they're optional, so I don't have to. Which brings me to my next point. Let's talk about the timer. I think the timer is really cool, you know, a way to kind of give yourself a personal challenge, try to get the best time you can. But there is one major flaw with it. They tied dedicated drops to the timer. That means if you go through this difficult fight and, you know, you slowly kill him, you know, sit there and dodge like a boss, and maybe you don't have the best gear, but you're just sitting there and, you know, taking on the end game challenge and eventually beating it. The game is like, guess what? You were too slow. You don't get a reward. And the players had, they're like, but I beat the challenge. I beat the boss. It took a bit, but I was able to do it. Game says, nope, you were too slow. No loot for you. Personally, that feels pretty bad. And I'm not gonna lie, getting the platinum time isn't easy. Like, even with the top of the top gear and meta build, you can only barely pull it off. Oh, and remember, the immune phases. 43 of your seconds for your timer, for your finish time, is immune phase. So that platinum reward finish at the bottom might as well just say 1 minute. Anyways, let's kind of jump around here. Let's talk about another good thing. So the path to the boss is really cool. When I first entered this map, I just felt how different it felt from, like, Carcadia Burns. I know not everybody cares for map design and they just want to rush straight to the boss. But dude, for real, this map is well made and I love running through it. You feel small and you know, like, something massive's coming up. And the transition from this, like, cracked, dry area into, like, this watery, kind of luscious area, the transition was done really well, and I do appreciate that. Now, just like any map, once you appreciate it and run through it once, for future farming, you only care to get straight to the boss and ignore all the stuff in between, which, I mean, you know, I understand. But first time running through it, it was a treat. The final thing I want to tackle about the raid boss is one more negative thing, and that is the drops. Don't get me wrong, the drops are really cool, really good, and I think they will shape a lot of future builds. But why is it in the big 2025, we are still having bosses drop their loot off cliffs? You kill Bloomreaper, he spews out loot, and in fact, I've had my dedicated drop, my legendaries, just fall into the void. That is not a good feeling. Luckily, after the boss fight, there is a lost loot machine, and they did fix it, so now your lost loot will go in there. So most of your loot will be in there if he does drop it off the cliff. And I say most because I had one run where I got the Mantra shotgun drop. It fell off the cliff, I went to lost loot, it wasn't there. I even save quit, jumped back in the game, and it still wasn't there. So the lost loot machine is mostly reliable, but it's not perfect. I do think they knew about the problem of, like, loot falling off the cliff because the lost loot machine is very, like, apparent. There's no doubt in my mind that they knew this was an issue, so that's why they added it. Either way, in a situation like this, why can't we just go to fixed loot spawners? For example, in Borderlands 2, you kill, like, the Handsome Sorcerer, and in this specific area, the fireworks going off in that fight will drop loot in the same location. What I'm saying is, you kill Bloomreaper, and then the top platform spews the loot on the main platform. Problem solved. I think that'd be a very good fix and stop people from losing potential drops. The final thing I'm going to talk about is the dedicated drop raids. What you need to know is the new sniper and class mods you can get from the chest after the fight. The grenade, shotgun, and shield, you get that from the raid boss itself. Now, I do think with a decent build, not like a god build, but like a decent build for this boss fight, getting at least the silver time isn't too difficult, and you will get your class mod rolls out of that. But getting platinum is ridiculously hard, and that means if you can't get platinum finish, you cannot farm the new sniper. I don't think that's really good design, and that just pushes players to have to farm for like these god builds. In my mind, it should not be about kill speed, especially when they don't want you to kill it fast with the immune phases. So why are players getting locked out of a dedicated drop when they didn't farm enough to get this god build or follow the rules to make this build function at a high tier rate? If that makes sense. A player taking down your hard challenge should be, you know, a win and they should be rewarded for it. But no, you're not fast enough. You don't get the new sniper. Think about it like this. Imagine little Gas Mask. You guys know Gas Mask. He does an OP10 challenge run with the Bane through the main story. He struggles through, beats the run, and completes the challenge. Oh, guess what? With the new time mechanic, you weren't fast enough. No reward for you. Sorry, bro. That doesn't feel good. Either way, back to dedicated drops. Sorry, I'm kind of like saying the same thing again. So yeah, the class mods and the sniper you get from the chest. That is time-based. You gotta be fast to kill the boss, right? But the 3 dedicated drops from the boss itself, currently, the drop rates for them are extremely low. I was farming this boss for 7.5 hours the other day, and it took me 3.5 hours to get one roll, just one drop of the new grenade. I found the new shotgun like 3 times, the new launcher. Oh wait, there's 4 drops, I'm sorry. There's 4 dedicated drops from the boss itself. Yeah, the new launcher I found like 3 times. The shield I found twice. And the grenade over the course of the 7.5 hours, I finally got my second one later on. So in total from the boss itself, I only had about like 10 drops in 7.5 hours. And keep in mind, I was using a meta build. I could clear them the fastest I could, and it still took that long. Now, this is something that can be fixed. They can up the drop rates and, you know, make it more rewarding. In my opinion, if you take down the endgame raid boss, regardless of speed, you should be rewarded. People mean on, like, Terramorphous and Borderlands 2 dropping, like, no loot every kill. Bloomreaper is doing the same. Maybe even less. We need to up the drop rates. Especially when there's so many part combinations for guns now, there is no excuse for this. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for today, so let's quickly recap. I think the boss fight is really good. I like the mechanics, you know, you gotta stay healthy, top yourself off, dodge, stay off the platforms, grapple around, and it overall just feels like a good challenge. And that is something I feel like we lack in the franchise. We're just so used to like one-shotting any raid boss in the previous games. So for the first time ever, we actually got a challenge. People kept shouting for they want difficult endgame, and we finally got it. The boss fight mechanics can be learned and dodged, and it really isn't that bad. As for the complaints, immune phase is way too long. The timer's cool, but it should not be tied to your dedicated loot drops. And they need to fix the items falling off the cliff and buff the dedicated drop rates. Outside of that, I am happy with the content. Now, let's be transparent here. While the new raid boss grind is enjoyable for some, just like the previous content we got the Mercenary Day, I don't think this content's going to keep players on the game for very long. Which sucks, because we finally got our first raid boss, and it just, you know, his content you burn through pretty fast, and I just feel like people are going to do that and put the game right back down. Borderlands 4 is a good game, and with more fixes, it will get better. But it keeps suffering from the same mistakes again and again, and this content, while it is fun and good, it does feel like too little, too late. I had my fun on the raid boss, I got my drops, and now I'm just waiting for something new to do. This is content that should have been in the game at release, especially with Borderlands 4 feeling like a, this is going to sound kind of weird. This game is like an endgame build game. You know, you beat the main story, you work on your build, you do a lot of farming, grinding, you become more powerful, and then you just don't right now have that endgame to test your builds until now. Just like in Borderlands 3, we didn't have a raid boss at release, we shouted about it, and for the next 6 years, they drop BL4 and do the same thing again. No raid boss at release. For a game that's built to be an endgame kind of game, we need endgame. In fact, I looked at the Steam charts, and even with this new content, this free content, it again was a very small bump in player count, and I don't think that many players are still coming back. There is a possible silver lining, however. The most talked about piece of content coming up is Cash, you know, the new Vault Hunter. And alongside it, it comes with the first story pack. It drops sometime early next year. In my opinion, if this content does not land, then it's looking very grim for Borderlands 4's future. Anyways, thanks for watching today, guys. I appreciate you all. Let me know below what you think about the new raid boss, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.